Good afternoon and welcome to my studio. I'm Dr. Michael Sullo, artist, lecturer, and teacher, and fine artist. Today we're going to continue with our study of the European style of painting. And of course, you remember that in the European style of painting, the painting is taken apart into its pieces. And we started with drawing on paper with Conte and created a one-point perspective base to work from. From there, the second thing we'll do is to transfer that onto a canvas, and on that canvas we will paint a monochrome painting, and we'll do that in either gray, green, or brown. In this case, we're going to use brown. And from the monochrome painting, when it dries, and it has to dry thoroughly, from the monochrome painting, we will do a what's called velatura. So we'll add a layer, a relatively transparent layer of color over our monochrome painting so that you see through the color, through the velatura, and you see our dried monochrome painting underneath. From that point, we'll do glazing. And the glazing is an even thinner coat of paint, thinner than the velatura, and it serves to tie the painting together and gives us a very warm and soft look. So, let's go to it. To start this painting, of course, as usual, we're going to tone the canvas, and we're using a dark brown acrylic to get the tone on that we like. And so what we're going to do is just pop on the acrylic paint, and then we're going to use just a piece of white soft rag, and I'm wetting it here, as you can see, and I'm going to just spread this around. We want a nice deep tone behind this painting, and let me put it here so you can see it better. And I'm going to just spread this acrylic paint around. I'm using acrylic because it dries quicker. and I want to move on with my project. So, and now also, I'm not going to go in a horizontal or any other particular direction. I'm going to put swirls in it. We want the background of this, at least the underpainting, to help us later with the interest of it. And that's done. I'm going to do a Conte drawing now on 1-point perspective. And we're using newsprint and Conte, and this is a piece of chamois. Chamois that you buy to clean your car, basically. It's a little piece of animal skin. I'm going to tone this down, as you can see, and in a previous lesson we had a very nice long examination of 1-point perspective. Actually, the lesson just before this one. We're going to put in a horizon. We're going to put a horizon in here. And we'll put 1-point perspective. There's the 1 point. And we'll be using these 2 items. This glass dish, as you can see, it's very pretty. And we're going to put something nice in this. And also we're going to do this picture. We're going to use this picture in our still life. One-point perspective. And we're going to place it on a table. The picture first, right about here. We're going to put it in a glass box. So here's the base of the glass box. And we're going to make, from this corner, a leading edge. Now we'll go right up and beyond the horizon. And from here, we're going to draw a glass box. And here it is. And here it is. And so we're going to change Conte so you can see. I'm going to put in an ellipse, inscribe an ellipse inside the base. I'm going to inscribe an ellipse inside the top. This is for our picture. And I'm going to need one more ellipse, 1/3 of the way down. This is my leading edge. If I look at the leading edge, I know that that's about half. I want to come down about 1/3, so I'm going to use that as the 1/3, come back to my vanishing point. And here then is my ellipse. Here's my ellipse, that's 1/3 of the way down. Okay? The shape of that picture is relatively simple. And so I'm going to get it in there. It has a very bulbous shape. And here, and whatever I do on this side of the ellipse, I'm going to do on this side also. And here it is. And I'm going to come up and turn it out. And I'm going to come up and not quite such a turn up here, meet the corner of my ellipse, the edge of my ellipse, and turn this into the spout like this. And now I need a handle. I'll put the handle here And wipe it down. And there's a handle for my picture. Use the ellipse, corrected ellipse. And now I'm going to do the glass presentation bowl. I'm going to bring it back behind. So I'm going to use my leading edge, which is here, from here to here. I'm going to drag the leading edge down to here, way down here. And here's my vanishing point, don't forget. So I'm going to pull it back away from the front of the table. So here's my vanishing point, here's my vanishing point. And here, and I'm going to pull it right lined up with the back side of the picture here. Maybe everything here. This, and I'm going to put it in a glass box the same way. Here I'm going to let it end at the horizon. And I'm going to go here and back towards the horizon. And here. And here. So I got this. Here's my glass box right here. And you've done that. If you review the other lesson, you'll see that this is all two-point perspective, relatively simple work. I'm going to go a little higher because I want the ellipse on top to show. So I'll go a little higher to here, and I'll inscribe an ellipse here. This is going to be the top of that glass piece right here. And then I'm going to go 1/3 down. So I know this is my leading edge. This now, because I took the leading edge, brought it here. Actually, it's here. I brought it from here to here and then pushed it back. And so now that leading edge is here. The leading edge is right here. I'm going to find 1/3 of that. I know that that's about half. I'll go a little lower. So I'm about to here, back again to my vanishing point. And here now is my ellipse. Here's my elliptical shape. And here then is the top part here of that unit. It has a foot, that's again an ellipse. And again, I would advise you to go into or back to the lesson before this one and really take your time and work on this shape. Work on this 1-point perspective. And it's got a sphere over here, like this. And it works its way down. So here I am. All right, so there's my 2 items that I need. And I'm looking at the picture. Okay, it's all right. Now, I have my 1-point perspective drawing that I'm going to use. I have a picture in it. I have this other piece, excuse me. I have this piece, and I'm going to make my painting a little more masculine, my still life, than most people might. And I'm going to go back to when men smoked. After dinner, they would go to a particular room and perhaps play pool or just sit around in lounge chairs and gab and have something else, something sweet or some nuts, walnuts or something, and talk with their friends. Talk about politics, talk about things that ladies were not interested in, back around maybe 1890. And they would sit around after dinner, perhaps play cards if they had a pool table. But in that situation, they would have someone bring them some after dinner, something sweet perhaps, or others would prefer nuts and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do, and perhaps drinks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in into my painting in the front some walnuts. And again, I'm going to use that same 1-point perspective. Here it is here, and I'm going to locate a couple of boxes, as you see. 1, 2, another one over here, like this. And this occupies space, that occupies space, and it also needs to have width and breadth, so we'll create a box that walnut will fit in. I'm going to do a couple of walnuts in here, and here, and another here, and here, and here, and here. Bring this down. Okay, so now I made a couple of glass boxes, as you can see, and into those, I'm going to inscribe the shape of walnut here. And of course, you know they have very hard shells. And I'll do another one here, this way, and I'll let the shell come this way. And now I have 2 walnuts. What else I'm going to put in this is a nutcracker. Just came to me. So I'm going to use the 1-point perspective. And I'll come down this direction. I think I'll put it over here. I'll come down this direction like this. And here. I made kind of an elongated shape. And now from here, I'm going to find the top. Just going to go a little high, not too high, because this is going to be a thin 3-dimensional box that I'm going to lay this in. I'm going to put in a rounded shape, let it meet here, here, and here. So I'm making a nutcracker for my picture. I'll put the other end of it here. Small ellipse, come up and up. And here then, and we'll worry about the rest of that in drawing. And there then is my nutcracker. So I added a nutcracker, a couple of walnuts, and one more thing I'm going to put into this, and I know it's very unsettling in these times about smoking and so on, but this is going to be a picture, not of these times. And so I'm going to put in an ashtray. And I'm going to lay the ashtray in. Here's my 1-point perspective. I'll lay the ashtray in over here. It's here, it's here. Here's the base of it. And again, ashtrays weren't all that thick. So I'll do this and create. Again, another box. I know my students tell me all the time, what's with all these glass boxes? They are so that we occupy space. Very important that we're occupying space. And the ashtrays usually had an elliptical shape, round shape. In this case, it would look like an ellipse. And they went down, so they had a thickness. So the ashes fell down into it, and they had cuts in them like this. So where the cigar might be seated, might sit into the ashtray, and I'll put a cigar in it. I'll put a cigar going this way. Again, I can just run right across, and right across, and I'll make it a little thicker. And again, it creates a box, glass box. I'll end it here. Everything works into the vanishing point, and let me change colors here so you can see it. And here then, right here, I'll color it in so you can see it. And that is going to be my cigar. So I got a nice cigar. I'll put some kind of a dessert in here. We got nuts. We got a picture of, it could be anything. Could be water, could be just about anything. Cider they used to drink, things like that. So that's our drawing. It's the same size as our canvas, and now we're going to transfer our drawing onto the canvas. The next step in our project is to take our drawing and transfer it onto the canvas. Now what we'll do is we'll trace it first, and that's what we're about to do. And all I need to have from my drawing is just the most important things. And the most important things here, of course, are the ellipses here, and I'm going to take the spout and complete this ellipse and the shape as it comes down, sits on the table, say on this side, and I want the hand, whoops, I missed it there. I want the handle, and here, and I'm going to transfer all these pieces. Oh, I want one more. I want the middle ellipse here. I want that. My drawing. I'm also going to take the bottom ellipse, because if I decide to make this transparent, and I might decide to put sangria in there or something like that. Then I'm going to move on to this other piece. Again, all I need in from my drawing here now is the ellipses. In this first stage when I was drawing, I took the sizes, you remember? I'll take both of these ellipses. I wanted to make sure that the sizes were correct. Yeah. And again, the bottom ellipse. All right, this is a little strange. Flatten this ellipse out a little bit. And my ashtray, which is here, and here, here, and here. Oh, of course, there's a cut in the ashtray that I missed. I'll put it in. There's the ellipse of the ashtray where the ashes would fall in. Okay. And the front face. And God knows my father had one of these, and it was made out of a piece of marble. And it was very beautiful, actually. Here then is the cigar. I'm going to trace that cigar. Again, it's an ellipse shape, comes down, points out at the bottom. It's here. And I think I'm going to use some of this as ashes that have not fallen yet. And the back side of the ellipse. And of course there would be another cut in this side of the ashtray. And my dad had one just like that. Now the walnuts, here they are. And these are already plotted out for me, so I don't have to go too crazy. Here's the other, the second walnut shape. And then I'll go over here to the nutcracker. And again, I'm not going too bonkers with this, but I want it to be as correct in perspective as possible. And of course there's going to be little things here, and this turns. Okay, so there then, as you see, is the tracing that I'm going to transfer onto the canvas. And there it is. Now I have removed my tracing and taking the drawing down. I want to save that. And what I'm going to do is I'm working on a dark canvas, so I have some yellow charcoal, some tan charcoal, and some white, and I don't need all of those, but what I'm going to do with these now is to, of course, this is the way I want it on the canvas, so I'm going to turn it over so I can trace it onto the canvas, and I'm going to use this flesh tone here, and anything like this, anything soft will work. Soft pastel, if you happen to have some of those. Contes don't quite come off the way you're going to want it to when you try to trace it onto the canvas. But soft pastel, charcoals, I have different colored charcoals that I bought. And I want all of this to be backed up. Here's my nutcracker, this side, and here, and the ashtray and a cigar. So I have the back side of my tracing all ready to go. And I'm going to bring my canvas over, center it on my board, and I'm going to fit on to the canvas my tracing and position it where I want it to be in the final painting. Probably right about there. And so what I'm going to do now is tape it, so hopefully it doesn't move. All right. And a little more. And now I want to tape it basically on top, because I want to be able to see if the tracing is coming through. So now my tracing is on the canvas, and now I'm going to inscribe it onto the canvas, as you see. I'm using a soft pencil, a number 2, no, yes, a number 2. Now, what's happened is the charcoal that I use is very light, and you probably can't see it on camera. And also, I want to make sure it's there, so I'm using some watercolor, yellow watercolor paint, and I'm going to retrace my ellipses, my drawing. And again, I'm not worried that it's too wonderful at this point, because I know how to do the ellipses. I know where they are. I know where the vanishing point is. But I do want to make sure that this part of the painting is more permanent. Now, because once I switch into oil paint, the oil paint will just cover right over this. Now you can't go the other way. You can do, here's my lower ellipse, you can do oil paint over water paint. Water-based paint, you can paint oil over water-based after it dries. However, you can't go the other way. It's impossible to paint water-based paint over oil paint because it just crawls. It just crawls, which means it doesn't stick, basically. It doesn't stick to the oil paint. But here I am, and I'm pretty confident with this. I'm going to add a little doodads as I go along. Little detail at this point, just for fun. Now there's my picture, and I'm going to go down to the nutcracker. Here it is, here, here, and here. And the ellipse for it. Here's the leg. Here's the other one. Now I've already drawn this, so I'm not worried about, am I going to remember exactly where my ellipses are and so on, because I just drew it. I just drew it. So there is that. I have a walnut here that I need to put on, and here it is. And here. And I need another one. The second one that I have, I'm going this way. And it faces more forward than that one. Here it is. Okay. And then I have also this piece in the back. I got to come up with a name for this. It's a very pretty serving dish of some type. Belongs to my wife. I have no idea where she got it from. But it always makes a very beautiful presentation when we have company. Because of course it's glass. And so whatever is in it has a very pretty look. It looks inviting. So let me get this in here. There's another ellipse down here, as you know. And we'll let the glass turn and pick up on that. And these again are just, for now, they're just guides. The drawing was well done. Now where is my cigar? Okay. Okay, here's the back. See, sometimes you run into this where you're not exactly sure. That's wrong. You're not exactly sure where the charcoal lines are. And it's not unusual. But you gotta remember on that my vanishing point is here. So I know I always have that in mind. And I can refer back to it. Here's the top of my ashtray. And here's the front side of the ashtray. Now there's another ellipse right here where the ashes would fall. There's an elliptical shape right, elliptical shape right here. Like this. And just barely goes around behind the cigar. And it does have a cut in it, like this. Okay, and that goes right into it. And there's another one on this side. Straight across. And the cigar itself is here. We're going to begin our underpainting now, and it's going to be in browns. We talked about this before. And so I'm going to start by boxing in the pieces of my painting. And I'm using here ochre with white, quite a bit of white in it. And so I'm going to just box in my pieces. Now, the yellow that we put on yesterday to help us to see these pieces is now dry, thoroughly dry. And so I'm going to start my oil. And I'm going to box in these few pieces. Very important that I start there. It's my intention to light my picture. My intention to light my picture from the right-hand side, from my right as I'm looking at the canvas. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the light in my background here as I'm blocking it in, lightest, and work my way across to darkest. And that's what my idea is. But right now I want to block in the shapes of my painting, block in the shapes of the picture. I'm going to work around these ellipses because I'm going to need them. So I'm working around my ellipses. I'm not going too crazy with this. Once again, this is still a simple form here, but I want to make sure I have enough paint underneath to be able to use it as we go along in my underpainting. I want to be able to use the lighter, darker paints to create the form of these pieces. Now also I have this, and I want to make sure that my ellipses are in fairly decent shape. I don't want to lose them. We took quite a bit of time doing the underpainting, and so we want to make sure that we maintain the shapes of the ellipses. Now I have had students in the past who have said to me, Dr. Sullo, why are we bothering to do all this drawing, get all the perspective correct, just to fill it in? Well, in European drawing and European painting, in European painting, we do the drawing to get the proportionality correct, the size of this to that, the size of a walnut as compared to the cigar. All these things have to be drawn first so you understand where you're going with them. It's very, very important. And you want to make sure that you have everything in perspective so that they read. And what you don't want to do is to go off half-baked and do this, for instance, the walnuts. If I had several walnuts here, and you'll see this a lot in amateur painting where the group of items, whether it be bananas or peaches or something like that, will occupy the same space. And once again, as we have said in the past, that all of the rules that apply to science and math also apply to painting. No two items can occupy the same space at the same time. And you remember we blocked out each one of these things. Even a cigar is not sitting on, or at least sitting flat on the ashtray. It is, of course, sitting in the grooves of the ashtray, but it is occupying its own space. And that's very, very important. And I want to make sure. Okay. So I'm just again boxing in these items and just about have this completed. And I'm gonna put a little extra paint on this side of this picture because this is where I wanna let the light play. Basically, let it play on this side. Oh, now also, we haven't had an ellipse up here. Let's see if I can recreate it. We have an ellipse here. Now, you remember, oh, and the same counts for this. You remember that our horizon line was lower. And so what that means is we'll be using the top part, or the closest part of the ellipse in our painting. Now, we'll use the back side later on. I still see the ellipse, it's here. And I'm going to use the back side of the ellipse to show the fact that the picture is glass. I got the same problem over here because the front of the display, we need to use that part of it. All right, we're going to straighten this ellipse out a little bit, this sphere, and we're ready to move on. We'll mix some darker browns now, and we'll work the background from light to dark. And as I said before, we're going to allow the light to come in from my left-hand side of the canvas. And first of all, though, we're going to paint in using a very dark brown. And remember where our horizon was, but we're not going to use the horizon. We're going to come down lower. And here, what we're going to paint across the back, because this is a table. And we're going to put in the back side of the table. And so what that means, and that's a little bit in the center. I'm going to pull it up just a little more. No, I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to bring it down a little more, down to here. And so, what we're drawing there is the wall. We're painting, blocking in the wall with a dark brown, as you see. So we're blocking in the wall as a nice dark brown. And we're going to come from this side, lighter, get dark here, lighter here, and work it a nice, again, hold a brush like a brush. One of the important things that I haven't been stressing in this particular composition is to, when you're painting, hold the brush as a brush. So I'm going to darken in the side of my canvas. Now ordinarily I would have the top of this canvas in a brace, but today I want to be able to move along quickly on this so I only have a very short time to do this demonstration, and I want to make sure that I'm able to move the canvas around as I need to. So here we are. We're working our way across the canvas. And you can still see what we talked about before, even with the darker, heavier paint, you can still see that the toning that we did underneath still kind of comes through. Gives us a nice little bit of motion going on behind. Now I'm going to start on the other side with the lighter mixture of the brown. Actually, I'm going to add a little more light to this. I'm going to come in with some white, blend it in, work my way across across the back wall. Now I want to get this as straight as possible. And there it is. And I need some of this here. And I'm going to work my way across the back wall. Now, as you can hear, and we're just kind of scumbling this on, not going too crazy. Not going too crazy with the brush strokes. In essence, what we're trying to do again is just block in the wall in the background. And we're creating a light to dark, a lighter to darker space. And in the end, it doesn't have to be a tremendous amount of difference. Okay. Got a little bit of paint on my handle. I'm not going to worry about that too much. And now I have the beginnings of a nice transaction between the darker brown and the lighter brown. I'm going to mix a little bit more of this, not too much, Mike. I'm going to mix a little bit of white to give me a little more of a transition, a little more of a transition between the lighter area of the wall and the darker area. All right. Soft blends. And here. Now what I'm going to do also is I'm going to do the table, but I'm going to do the table in the opposite way. I'm going to use darker in the front, aerial perspective, and lighter in the back. So I'm going to get the edge of the table back here and work my way down, very much as though I were painting. I'm going to get, well, that's a little too light, but I'll just blend it. Here's my edge of my table right here. I'm going to blend it down. A little more paint, a little more pigment in there. And I'm going to box this down. As you can see, even this much paint is starting to form. I got to watch out for my ellipse that I drew. And even this small amount of paint that we have on so far is still going to read for us and create a foreground background. So let's come down more. And we're doing this for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, okay, this needs quite a bit more because the other paint is starting to set up already. You'll notice when you're working with oil paint, depending on the day, depending on the weather, it will set up at different times. So let's get this in a little more, a little darker here. And don't forget, we still have glazes to do, so we can always correct at the end. We'll make some corrections. And we'll work on our way down. Here's our nutcracker. And now it's starting to come together, as you can see. And you see, because most of the items that are in this painting are already blocked in, boxed in. I have the yellow paint from yesterday, because that's when I worked, wrong way. That's when I worked on it last. And I'm coloring this in, filling this in. I'm going to fill in the back side of the ashtray. Don't forget my vanishing point is here, so this has to be relatively straight to my vanishing point. And here. Work around the cigar. I'm going to do a negative around that cigar. Now I'm going to go to the darker brown, as you can see. And I'm going to start to bring this forward. I want to get too dark because I still got shadowing to do. So, but I still want it to grade forward. I want the table to grade forward. Usually I use liquid media. When I'm moving quickly like this, I use linseed oil, and that's, you see me reaching over to wet my brush a little bit. I'm just using some linseed oil. If you are painting along with us, this is where we would expect you to be for our next session. All of your main items boxed in, blocked in, and ready to move on to our underpainting completion. In our next session, we will complete our brown underpainting, our monochromatic underpainting, as you see it here. And from this point, we will move on to add the velaturas. I've been amiss because I have not showed you the palette that I'm using. It's now that we're going into the velatura stage, we're going to put some very soft colors over our dried underpainting. And so we're going to use yellow ochre here, and black and white. I'm sorry, yellow ochre, black, white, umber, burnt umber, vermilion, lemon yellow, and a dark Prussian blue. And that will be the palette we're going to use through the rest of this painting. Now I need to explain one thing to you. Oh, I'm sorry, also we'll use liquid and not linseed oil. And I'm going to stay with dark blue where the walnuts come together, because what I'm doing here is I'm doing The blue is cool, of course, and the shell of walnut is warm, and it'll be a nice contrast. And sometimes I can just mark some. And so, that's enough for this session. The next time we meet, this will dry. We'll do some more detailing. We gotta color this properly. We need to put a thickness in for the picture, and then some very nice, soft, also we'll do something with this tabletop, and some very soft glazes, and our composition will be complete. This will be our painting at the end of the second session. As you can see, we have added velaturas and a little bit of the detailing that's required to shape our pieces. In our third and final session on this project, we will be adding some additional velaturas and glazes, and perhaps some absolutely necessary details to make our project museum quality. I'd like to thank all of you who have painted along with us, or those who just sat back and watched to get the idea of how to do a European style painting. I'm Dr. Michael Sullo, and I'm very hopeful that you will watch the second and third session, and of course if you're painting, to complete your project. All the best, and God bless you.